Right folks, I thought I'd build upon the success of Rambling On About Records by doing another Rambling On About Records. This time I'm not going to just talk about the 78s, I'm also going to talk about LPs and 45s as well. And I've decided that this time there's going to be no Jimmy Shand or anything like that, because Jimmy Shand's one of the most common artists you'll find up here, and to have him in another video is just going to be a bit boring, so we'll do some more interesting records, so we'll get into it now. Right, first up we're going to be having a look at this one. This is Honey by Bobby Goldsboro from 1968 on United Artists Records. And the song is basically about a man who sings about his girlfriend. He sings a ballad about his girlfriend and his life with her. And I don't know about the chart performance of this song, but I think it's an alright song, quite a pleasant one. And the B-side of this one is called Danny. And this record's quite a long record for the time, 3 minutes 58 seconds. It's quite an alright song, I think. And that's the B-side label right there. Right, next up, we've got it in a Harold E. Parks Stafford sleeve here. I'll Be Home by Pat Boone on the 78 on London American Recordings. And it's another ballad again. Ballads are not really my cup of tea, but suppose it's just my personal preference. But perhaps the most interesting thing on this record is the B-side. Tutti Frutti, that's the B-side. I'll Be Home went to #1, this was relegated to B-side status. It's a Little Richard cover, and I noticed they've misspelled Little Richard's last name with the writing credits. Labostri and Tennyman. It's supposed to be Little Richard Penniman, not Tennyman. But that aside, this cover version of Tutti Frutti is derided by a lot of folk, and it's rather interesting to say the least, but yeah. Right, next up we've got Sultans of Swing by Dire Straits, and this is not the Sultans of Swing you hear on the radio nowadays. This is actually an alternate version, like a single version if you like. I don't think this one has ever been reissued, but it's a rather interesting version. There are some minor differences to the album version, but it's a rather interesting find, this one. I found it in my local record shop second hand. And the B-side, talk amongst yourselves whilst I flip it over. There we go. Eastbound Train, and it was recorded live. Now, both sides are quite long, so they've got finer grooves than a lot of 45s. In fact, the A-side is actually one of the longest single-track records I think I have. So yeah, but very interesting. Now I'm going to show you this box set from Reader's Digest that I bought second hand. This is Popular Music's Golden Hit Parade. This is the Reader's Digest box from the mid-70s, and you could only get it via mail order. And this contains recordings from between 1956 and 1973. It's split onto 8 discs, and all of the recordings hit the top 10 in the British singles chart. Now, sorry about the poor lighting, but hopefully you can see that there are some great tracks on here. A lot of the recordings I already knew. I've already heard a lot of the songs on here before, even before I bought this. I played this box set twice since I bought it last year, and it's a great compilation album, and it's even got recordings. Well, all of the recordings on here are from the major British record labels at the time, with the notable exception of EMI. Now, there are 112 songs on here, believe it or not. 7 on each side of the disc, 14 to a record. Times that by 8, you get 112. 14 times 8 is 112. And if you see any tracks on this marked with an asterisk in the 1970s box set like this, any tracks marked with an asterisk are in electronically reprocessed stereo, and that's where they take a mono recording and add effects to it to make it sound like it was in stereo. And Reader's Digest use some very high quality tapes. However, some of the fake stereo mixes on here are not that great. Some of them are alright though, but I would not recommend a fake stereo LP unless you're like buying the Shadow's 20 Golden Greats, where they pretty much got the best fake stereo mixes you'll ever hear of tracks like FBI and stuff. But it's a good box set despite its many fake stereo mixes. In fact, 54 out of the 112 tracks on here are in reprocessed stereo. But it's a great box set, and I would recommend a box set like this if you just care about the music. If you care about the sound and the music, then you'd be better off getting it on CD, or maybe even the original mono mix on a 45 or something like that. Now I've just got the sleeve for disc 4 to show you, and it tells you at the top there the tracks that are on and the year. So side 1 1964, and side 2 1965. It tells you the songwriters and it tells you the artist as well as the track, and any tracks marked with the asterisks are in electronically reprocessed for stereo. And it also tells you about a little bit about the song and the band, and it also tells you about the chart info for the song. For example, Here Comes the Night by Them went to number 2 in the chart and stayed in the chart for 8 weeks, and it says about copyright notices and all at the bottom, and it also says this stereo record can be played in a mono thing if you have this. And that is what one of the record labels looks like, just to show you. And that's for disc 4, and all of these records were interestingly made in Holland. Now on to one of my favourites. This is Happy Hour by the Housemartins. This came out in 1986, and it was quite a big hit back in its day, and it still gets quite a bit of airplay as well. In fact, BBC Radio 5 Live have a show called Happy Hour, and where they do only happy news stories, and they use this song as the theme song to the Happy Hour show. And there it is. The B-side is called The Mighty Ship, and it's on Go Discs, The Sound of Shepherd's Bush. And I've also just noticed there that it says, I like this record because, answer in not more than 10 words. Well, I'll answer it for you now. I like this record because it's a lovely, happy, upbeat song. There you go. And there's the record there, the 7-inch record. 2 minutes 20 seconds that lasts, which is a reasonably short song for the 1980s, but I'll just flip over to the B-side. Talk Amongst Yourselves whilst I flip that over. There we go. And I'll pick the camera back up, and that is the B-side, which lasts, I'll just get that there, 1 minute 52 seconds, even shorter that time. Might as well get another 78 back out again, and this one is called Say the Words I Love to Hear by Les Paul and Mary Ford on Capitol CL14577. Now, this song never really caught on, but there's some absolutely brilliant guitar work on this. And Send Me Some Money's the B-side. I've tried this on the radiogram and on the gramophone. I have steel needle played it, and I've also fawn needle played it. I've started to switch to fawn needles nowadays because they're much better on the records, and it's not really the best with the fawn needles because the record's that loud, but played on either machine, the guitar work is absolutely superb. Right, I thought I might as well finish off on a very modern LP. I quite like Ed Sheeran, I always have, ever since I discovered him a few years ago. The first album I bought of Ed Sheeran was, I was actually gifted it actually. The first album of Ed Sheeran I was gifted was Divide. I went and bought this one from the record shop back in about 2022. Quite early on in 2022, actually, January that year. This is Equals, Ed Sheeran's 4th studio album from 2021, and there's some big hits on here like Shivers and Bad Habits and all. In fact, Bad Habits actually spent 11 consecutive weeks at #1 in Britain and Ireland. As with a lot of records nowadays, it comes with a picture sleeve, and it also comes with a sleeve containing a lot of the lyrics and musical credits and everything. And the thing that's special about my copy of the record is that it's on white vinyl. It's not easy to see the individual tracks, so I usually just play it all the way through because I can't see the individual tracks, but lovely, cool, snazzy white vinyl, innit? Well, I think that's me ending it off on a high note. That's the label for side 2 there, and for side B. And There we go, I'm ending it off on a high note. White vinyl and a very modern LP for those of you who like modern music. I quite like, I like some modern music. Ed Sheeran's probably one of the best, I think, in my opinion. One of the best artists. There we go. I hope you enjoyed that, folks. Rambling on about records again, or whatever I choose to title the video. Thank you and goodbye.